Dennis Eugene Steinour Sr., Petty Officer, 2nd Class, ABH. Got involved in April of 1973, just out of high school, and wanted something other than warehouse work, in fact, and manufacturing work. So I thought, okay, Navy. Oh well, I think it was a good choice. Basic training was in Great Lakes, Illinois, and in the springtime when dandelions are blooming, that's your first duty when you get there, dandelion detail. So you're going around picking dandelions. So they didn't like the yellow flowers on the grass. And it was great. I'll tell you what, things change the moment you step off the bus. I mean, when they come on yelling at you, telling you to get out here on the grinder. I'm asking, what's a grinder? It's a whole vocabulary you've never learned before. And you learn it quick, because if you don't learn it quick, you're messed up, and then they're really on you. So, learning what they called a chow hall. I didn't even know what a chow hall was. So, it was learning the vocabulary and getting into the military routine. But once you realize that they are preparing you for military life, then you let it soak in, you absorb it, and when they tell you to muster on the grinder, you know what you got to do. When they tell you to fall in, you know what you got to do. It was unique. What's a ditty bag? We had a ditty bag. I said, I've never heard of such a thing. What is it? Turns out to be a laundry bag. But we didn't have clothespins. We washed our own clothes in a sink at boot camp. We had to wash by hand, and we have to bring them out and hang them up. But you hang them up and you tie them instead of using a clothespin. You tie them, and I remember having all these little pieces of string to tie it, and it all had to be put away properly. Everything folded properly. I still fold my clothes the way I learned to fold them in the Navy. My wife is entirely different, but she can always tell. She said, "You folded this, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah, I folded that." And she said, "Well, why is it inside out?" And I said, "Oh," I said, "so I thought it was a nice shirt. I always folded my dress shirts inside out. The creases had to run on the inside, not on the outside." So that stuff sticks with you for life. It doesn't go away. Shooting the rifle, well, at Great Lakes, I was prepared to shoot a rifle, something with a large caliber probably. We shot 22s, We didn't really, for what we were going into the Navy for and stuff, we really didn't have that necessary training to shoot a large caliber rifle. We did shoot the .45 handguns. I enjoyed those. Because when you make a petty officer, at some point in time you're going to be in a duty section, you're going to go on shore patrol. So, we had nightsticks and or .45 caliber pistols that we wore, and so they made sure we were used to that. Other terminology they used, the smoking lamp is lit. I told everybody that was in there, hey, it's okay to go to the break room and have a cigarette or something, or get a Coke. You had a specific time you were able to sit down and write a letter home, that stuff. But whatever, I would tell anybody when you go into basic training, don't wear anything good, don't wear anything nice, because it's all going to get put in a box and you're going to send it home. And you don't realize it till after you're going out. That Petty Officer First Class, that was my drill instructor, I realized that as I moved up in rank and stuff, he put his pants on the same way I did. But he prepared me for Navy life. And it was quite an experience, a different experience. So, graduated from basic training and immediately was sent to AIT training in Lakehurst, New Jersey to become an ABH. My original plan was I thought I was going in to work on mechanical engines, jet engines and stuff, because I had a mechanical background in high school as a trade that I thought I would continue after high school. And I said, well, the Navy might be able to pay for some college and technical school stuff, so that's where I went. And but found out ABHs don't work on planes. They move them. So, and if you know anything about Lakehurst, it's the exact same place where the Hindenburg blew up. And you think about that when you get there, because the guys are talking about it on the bus and stuff. And I wasn't there 2 hours, and I found out, well, the Blue Angels are coming in. There was supposed to be a show. And unfortunately, my initiation with my first vision of the Blue Angels was an actual crash. Two of them came in and they touched wingtips, and they crashed just outside the gate in the forest area. And it was fatal, but we got on the detail of having to clean up the crash site. And so here I'm a guy just out of boot camp. I'm going to go work with aircraft and everything. My first job with them was cleaning up a crash site. It's an experience I don't want to relive, but it just happened that way. So, but then going to the school and then learning what they want, moving aircraft around and stuff like that, all in a simulation part of it, was very, very unique. And then you get into also a part of it called damage control. And they actually have basically a life-size model of a ship on ground. And they flood rooms and things like that, and you learn how to do damage control to seal up the flooding and stuff like that. And you will get wet. You will definitely get wet. But it was fun. I just thought, man, if I ever have to use this training for real, it's kind of like, you got to ask yourself, what would you do in a stressful situation? It prepares you for that even outside of life. You never know what's going to happen around you. And it makes me prepared for most time. I'm always thinking about, even driving my car, the other guy, watching their movements and stuff. Worried more about them than me. After AIT school in New Jersey, I got assigned to the USS Saratoga, and that's where my entire career was spent. I was scared, quote unquote, shitless. I've never seen anything that big in my life. And I reported they had just returned from the Nam cruise in '72, and they were in Portsmouth Naval Shipyard in dry dock. And if you've never seen a carrier in dry dock, it's just an awesome sight. And you wonder, how do they get it in there? And they drop it down on the big wooden blocks that it's setting on. And you see 4 screws in the back, and they're, I was told, 22 feet in diameter. And there's 4. And it's just awe. I'm just in awe. They have no idea what I got myself into. I picked the ship up in Portsmouth. They were going through a 13-month changeover. They changed out the 5-inch guns to what they called a point defense missile system. At the end of that yard period, they returned to our home port of Mayport. It was quite a sight, because everybody was loading their cars on the flight deck. It just looked like a great big ferry when it left you. Once we got to Mayport, first cruise was a lot of sea trial stuff because of the new equipment that was put on board. But I did a 74-75 med cruise. We did a cruise down to, for sea qualifications between 75 and 76, we went down to St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, Guantanamo Bay, and around that area. And then in 76, we did what we called our bicentennial cruise, all over to the Mediterranean. Actually, my first cruise was my first time ever being out of Pennsylvania, period. Now I'm leaving the States. I was a married man, and didn't know what to expect. I was 21 years old, and the work, I'll tell you what, time passes when you're busy. And I worked on the flight deck. I was also supply petty officer for our division. If you know anything about the people that work on the flight deck, they wear different color jerseys, and for the people that moved and stationed the aircraft around the flight deck, my job was to make sure they had what they needed to do their job. And then in addition to that, I also had to earn my wings, so to speak, by being up there and also helping out on the deck. I think anybody, though, that reports on board, probably your first assignment is going to be about 6 weeks of mess cooking. Mess cooking, you do a lot of dishes. Didn't have to worry about peeling potatoes like everybody says, you know, so peeling potatoes, no, but you do a lot of serving. You're a server. You do a lot of dishes, wiping down tables, mopping floors. It's just whatever the cooks needed you to do. So they did the cooking. That was their job. That was their rank. But everything else above and beyond that, the serving, wiping down tables, mopping floors, you know, that started it all off. So as soon as that was over, they had me on the deck. You know, I started out as a blue shirt, chalking the airplanes, tying them down. When I made third class petty officer, I had a duty section that I was responsible for. And then you're automatically taught how to learn to direct the aircraft and stuff around the deck. The hardest thing for me to learn, though, was the aircraft crane, to load aircraft onto the Saratoga. If they didn't land and fly on, you loaded them with a crane. And I never thought I'd ever be a crane operator. But that's quite a unique experience, lifting an aircraft up off a pier and putting it up onto the flight deck. The cruise itself, away from family, it's a little adjustment, a little lonely. Biggest thing I looked for was mail call. You know, we had a mail plane that came in just about every day. The first thing anybody wanted to do was get that mail bag off there so we could get down to the post office and get sorted. You know, everybody wanted their mail. The ports I was in, I just made up my mind. As a married man, I'm having children. I'm probably going to have children, you know, and I did have one, and at the time, and he today is 52 today, and he still wants me to hear what I did in the Navy. He admires anything that I have from my cruises, my old uniform stuff and things. He has all that. He puts it together. He put a shadow box together for me and stuff. When I die and move on, he wants all my cruise books and all that stuff, which is, I said, fine, you know, to have your child want all that information is a pretty special thing. But I just made up my mind going into the ports that I'm never going to see these places again, probably. So I wanted to be able to do things in it, meet people, and take a lot of photographs and have something to talk about other than maybe getting inebriated. So that's the way I looked at it, make the best of it. My favorite ports, I'd have to really say, was Cannes, France, and Barcelona, Spain. Those two were my favorites, I think. We did a lot of time in Naples, Italy and stuff, but when I got to Naples, I tried to get 2 or 3 day passes and get out beyond Naples. I was not hesitant to rent a car, drive up to Rome or someplace like that, see those places. But you know, I loved Spain. I didn't speak a word of Spanish. Fortunately, bumped into a lot of people that speak both. So, and now I have grandchildren that are bilingual and they can speak English and Spanish better than I ever could or ever, you know, really had the initiative to actually learn a second language. But and Cannes, France is just a unique experience all in itself. It's very clean, popular beaches, you know, the things that I see in a James Bond movie like the casino is a great place to go to. So I can say I was there and done that. It was nice. It was over the 4th of July that we were actually there, but that takes us into my next cruise in '76. So I never really got into any of the bad sections of towns and stuff, having to make sure our shipmates weren't in those areas and stuff. We really, to be absolutely honest with you, as we would walk around on patrol, they see you coming, everybody was on their best behavior. So, and we knew that as shore patrol guys. And the nice thing was learning to spin the baton. All batons had a leather string on them, tied in a loop. And there were certain ways you could put them on your hands and you'd be spinning them like you were a drummer in a rock and roll band, you know. But to the sailor, You know, they see and say, oh, these guys are ready, you know? So, but that was a lot of fun. And I actually, last year at the reunion, was the first time we ever did a dress up. And they said, bring something that you wore when you were in. I had nothing that fit me. But I found in the bottom of the trunk, I found my original Shore Patrol armband. Now, it had a little bit of moth damage on it, but it still went around the arm. So I came and I played Shore Patrol. I had my nightstick still. I didn't have the web belt, but I still had the stick. So I just, in the hospitality lounge at the reunion, I was the Shore Patrol guys. And got pictures of it. It's in the memory book and everything. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah, so I just told them I was here to keep you all in line. So, but yep, didn't really have to ever use the nightstick. And I only pulled it duty maybe 3 times. And it was always in Naples for some reason. I don't know why we had to have a lot of Shore Patrol for Naples, but we did. The first thing that caught my eye when I stepped off the Liberty launch onto the pier was a Hey Joe. A Hey Joe is somebody that's like a street salesman, and there was a guy down from the pier, maybe 100 feet, selling Pepsi-Colas, bottled Pepsis, okay? I had to have one. You know, I hadn't had one since we left the States, so having a Pepsi with a Hey Joe, of course, he wanted you to drink it there because he needed the bottle back. Okay, so that was it. I can say that in Naples, if you get away a little bit from everything downtown, it's kind of like the street vendors and everything. They know the ship's coming in, and they're prepared for you. I got away from the street vendors and stuff and tried to get back out into the countryside. I got into the areas where they had the vineyards and stuff for making wine and things. The best pizza I ever ate in my life was in Naples, and I've never been able to duplicate it and never been able to find it over here. Even from the people that have migrated from Italy and now have pizzerias and stuff over here, it's just not the same. And if I ask them sometimes, they say, oh, it's the oil, the olive oil. So I tried to duplicate it. I still try to duplicate it. We get pizzas we make at home and stuff, and I'll say to the wife, put a little olive oil on that before you bake it. So, but it just can't get that right flavor. I've seen Soviet bears fly. I've seen Soviet submarines. All you see is the periscope sticking up. But we knew they were there. Sometimes we'd even announce them over what we called the 1MC. And people would come up on deck and look, you know, take pictures. All you see is a little thing sticking out of the water, but they wanted a picture of it. The bears, on the other hand, I've seen them twice. One buzzed us one time, and they're just looking at us, and we're looking at them. But that there's probably my only interaction with a Soviet. And yeah, it was still Cold War time, but they knew where we were, we knew where they were. Well, the first thing you got to get used to on the flight deck is wind and the roll of the ship. You learn to walk with the roll of the ship. You learn to walk into the wind, you know, and then, you know, sometimes your body's in an angle. And that's the first thing you learn. And you're always aware of what's going on around you, constantly. You move an airplane, okay, you're focused on that, but you're always looking around that nobody's moving one towards you so that you get out of the way or something like that. So there is a deep awareness of when you're on the flight deck and everything that's going on around you. I loved it, I really did. The pilots and everybody, you go by them and they'll give you the thumbs up, you know you did what they needed you to do. The thing that scared me the most about the flight deck was not the operation during daylight. It's an entirely different world when that sun goes down, and it is dark. And as a flight director on there, you know, you have wands that glow, yellow, orange sometimes, and usually that's about all you see other than the amber lights on an aircraft blinking. And so it's an entirely different atmosphere. scared the daylights out. It took me months to get used to night ops, but you know, and I've had some close calls with it. Some things that just, you know, I know I've had an incident that had I not been aware where I was at and where I was going, I wouldn't be right here today. You know, I would be a statistic. F4 Phantoms is my favorite. It's just an awesome jet. It was replaced probably by the F-18s when I was getting out. They were just coming on. But I always loved the F4 Phantom. I just said, the only thing that keeps that thing in the air, it's all engine. It's all thrust. And all that pilot's doing is steering. You know, that's it. I've never witnessed anything with that much power. And my least favorite would probably be the VA-123, the I think they're Hummers, we called them. And they fly high. They're like a survey plane and everything, but it's just, the props on them just scared the daylights out of me. Huge props, and they're spinning, and night ops is really when I'm watching for them. But they just, that was a plane I respected. I knew what its job was. I knew why we had to have it, but it just scared me. You know, and the other ones, like the A6s and stuff with their large intakes, you know, had a lot of respect for them. Stay out of the way, because I have a good friend. He was here, excuse me, Mark, and we all talk about Mark as he just was walking by one. Far enough away from it that it wouldn't suck him in, we thought, pulled his helmet right off his head and took it into the engine. And everybody talks about that. Every reunion we'll, remember Mark when he got stuck into the engine? I said, no, he just got his helmet in. But, yep, he showed up this year. First reunion, we were glad to see. Carrier calls like down to Guantanamo Bay and stuff. Basically you go out and you go through a lot of drills, make sure that things work. In our case, daily, we were doing a rig the barricade drill. Never had to actually see it used in real life, but we drilled for it. It's a big net, nylon net, and two big metal arms that come up on each side of the landing area. And this big net just stretches across them. Plane coming in, whether it has any kind of damage that it's not going to be able to grab a resting cable, it would just fly into the net. You know? And that was an all-hands operation, because once the metal plates are removed from the decks, and we had what we call T-hooks to grab those plates, they get dragged out of the way, then everybody reaches in. There was just a big long line stretched across the deck of shipmates. We all grabbed the net, pulled it back, and then the arms would raise, and then they'd take up the tension on it. So that was a major drill. Fog walkdowns every day. You wouldn't do air ops without a fog walkdown. Make sure there's nothing laying out there. You know, they always said, well, we don't want anything sucked in the engine. I said, well, I don't want anything blowing down here and racking me in the head, too. So the whole reason for a fog walkdown. And it can hurt. A piece of non-skid that comes up off the deck or something, if it hits a jet blast exhaust, it can fly down. You thought somebody hit you with a rubber bullet or something. So, but yeah, those. But down in the Caribbean, doing all those qualifications, the thing that amazed me most, I've never seen water that blue. You know, you could literally see the whole way under the ship. It was that clear and blue. And my friends and I, we'd go to the bow, and they had nets the whole way around the ship they were there to protect us from getting blown off the deck. A lot of times that was where we'd go to catch a nap. And up on the bow was great. You could look straight down, the water, the ship cutting through the water. Always had dolphins down there going along with us. You know, it's just a neat place to go and relax when you weren't flying. So, those places like Guantanamo Bay, and I hear it in the news now and stuff like that, and I say, I've been there, you know. So, at St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, the air qualifications, and then touch and goes, the jets practicing touch and goes. It just was a unique experience. My first time in the Caribbean, felt like a pirate. So, hey, you know, but it was just different and fun. To me, it started out initially as just another med cruise. Didn't give it really thought. This is a bicentennial cruise. But it was different from the fact that most of the ports that we went to on the bicentennial cruise, we didn't go to on the 74, 75 cruise. So this was all new experience. And places like Tremolinos in Italy and Pompeii in Italy, and my first opportunity to see Mount Vesuvius. Places like Palma, Spain. These are big tourist towns that today would cost thousands of dollars to go and stay. And I'm here at the, actually at the cost of the Navy, but giving me a chance to relax from what I was being paid to do and service to the country and enjoy myself for a chance. And it was just a unique experience to be with people that from all over the country, all over the world, and here they're on vacation. Oh, how's your vacation going? We're having a wonderful time. You guys are so great being here, you know. And I'll tell you what, I never had to buy a beer in any port. Everybody wanted to buy you a beer. Sometimes I just didn't even want a beer, and but it was being offered. People were very, very friendly. And Portugal, I couldn't believe Portugal. To those people, you would thought it was a big New Year's Eve party. And everywhere you went in Portugal, when we pulled in Lisbon, and I told my wife today, I said, they were dressed up like it was Halloween, but they were celebrating it like New Year's, and just a phenomenal. So, and it's kind of sad. I've been to Split, Yugoslavia and stuff, and you see pictures of it today, and they're all shot up and bombed, you know, from all the stuff that goes on through time and stuff. And I said, it didn't look like that when I was there. And it's a little sad, but you look back and remember what it was like when you were there, though. So it makes it fun. We had dignitaries on board. And of course, we did man the rail a lot when we go into those ports, and they would be flown on most of the time. The captain would meet them on the deck and bring them up onto the ship and stuff. And so we had to be, you know, in our dress blues for manning the rail and things. And, after they were on board and they were settled in and stuff, things went back to normal for us until it was time for them to leave. And then we get back into our dress blues, give them a nice military honor for them leaving and stuff. My my grandkids look at me today because I had the opportunity during the bicentennial cruise over the 4th of July, we had a lot of American stars on board. I have pictures of Michael Jackson. I was within 3 feet of him walking. Ringo Starr. I have pictures of Dionne Warwick. Princess Grace on board. And it was just nice to kind of like just, Princess Grace, she shaked all our hands. Whether you were in line for it or not, wherever she went, she always wanted to shake your hand. And I thought, these are people I'll never see again. You know, Michael came on to be such a superstar. I'd never get that close to him again. But it was a unique experience to see these folks. And I would say Princess Grace Monaco was probably the only dignitary that came on board that I really got close to enough to, you know, feel their vibe coming off. They're important people. And it was just a unique experience to do that. We were a warship, and we trained every day for that event, if it would ever happen. We participated in Vietnam, the Gulf Wars and stuff. I know the planes, you know, were launched and recovered for that reason. I never had to do that. Sometimes I feel like, you know, I missed out on it sometimes, but in another way, I felt glad for the country that for my 4 years, we were at peace. But I just feel that if we had to, I felt like we were prepared to. So that's the way I look at it. As a young person, it's nice to have that responsibility, and it prepares you for life when you get out. I felt like, I've always said I went in a boy and came out a man, and I was only 4 years difference in age when I came out. I didn't want to make it a career. I sometimes think, you know, 30 years ago, I'd been a retired one if I stayed in, but it was just glad it did for me what I needed it to do. Give me that responsibility that I had to face to become a better dad. Now I'm a grandfather already, and my grandkids ask me all the time, Dad, Pap, they call me Pap, what did you do in the Navy, Pap? And of course, their imagination is I'm in a foxhole somewhere or something, and bombs are going off and dirt's flying on everything around. It's not like that, but I said, I tell them all, I said, if you get old enough, I said, do it, try it. You'd be amazed what it would make you into. So, we are a brotherhood. And, excuse me a minute, I don't care what branch of the service you served in, you're still a brother to me. If you're a Marine, if you're an Air Force guy, you're still a brother to me. These guys are a little extra special. Because we can talk about things and everybody can relate to it. I remember that, yeah, I remember that. You know, we can talk about what was the favorite thing to have in the chow hall and stuff, and everybody knows it. And it just seems like it goes from generation to generation to generation. The ship was started being built in '52, christened in '56, and decommissioned in '94. And well, I just said the other day, I said, I wonder what it was like for these guys in the 80s and 90s. Because we knew what the rooms were like for us in the 70s. And I said, after all those sailors that slept, I said, some of them, I said, probably, we might have slept in the same bunk at some time, you know? So, yeah, if we had the same compartments, so, yeah, and it was just phenomenal, I think. The most is the size. The size of an aircraft carrier is just phenomenal. I went into the forecastle one time just to see how big an anchor chain was. And a link is as big as the tables that are in this room. Just one link of the chain. And we lost an anchor one time over in the Med, and I said, how does that happen? It's just so huge. And but I guess it can happen. And yeah, the size of it, but the brotherhood of like I said, these guys are all my brothers, and whether I know them or not, we hug each other when we leave. Yeah, there's some of us that are that tight that we go all year. We stay in contact. At least once a month, we will start a post on Facebook or something, and everybody will join in, and it just keeps flowing and flowing. We all wish we lived closer together and we could get together and do dinner more and stuff. But these 4 days here for a reunion, it's just something I look forward to, you know, long before it even started. I was just looking out there online. I was ready to say, make my reservation for next year already. And nope, I better wait and talk it over with the wife. How many days do we want to go? You know, and stuff. So yeah, it's a good feeling to be with these guys. It really is. You know, a lot of fun, a lot of you know, remembering and stuff. And some of them do have sad stories. The guys that I got, yeah, I came on just as the ship came back from the Westpac cruise to Vietnam, and those guys that could tell you what it felt like to have a plane recover that's got bullet holes in it and stuff, you know, and helping the pilots and the navigators get out of them and stuff. And these guys were still on into the 74 and 75 time frame for me, and they shared their stories with me. And unfortunately, I didn't have to go through that, and maybe that's a good thing, at least from looking at it from a standpoint of, you know, the nation not being at war or something like that. But it was just, today we still talk about it, and you know, those guys still tear up 50 years later. So, but it's just something special about sailors that served, and the women too today. And I have a lady who was a yeoman at this reunion. Her husband served on the Saratoga. She was in the Navy as a yeoman, and just hearing her stories as being a woman in the Navy. We didn't have them back when I was there, but it's just a unique. She fits right in with this group. She just right into it. And she says that she don't know why she waited so long to do this. I would recommend anybody, if your unit is having a reunion somewhere, find out about it, get in on it. You really, really, really don't have any idea what you're missing. Whether you liked your time in the service or not, you've got to look back and at what it made you, what it did for you. And if you have respect for that part of it, in my case, a better father, better granddad and stuff, that those guys that help mold you into that person become special to you.